Anansi Soundsplash, with its rich history and global reach, embodies this tradition, uniting storytellers, researchers, and audiences from across the world. Today, we not only celebrate the legacy of Anansi storytelling, but also reaffirm the institution's commitment to ensuring its preservation for future generations. At the ACIJ, JMB, we take pride in our role as custodians of intangible cultural heritage. This collaboration strengthens our mission to safeguard and promote traditional cultural forms as essential resources for development. By archiving these recordings, we create an enduring repository where students, researchers, cultural enthusiasts, academics can engage with the depth and artistry of these stories. Of course, we extend our deepest gratitude to NTUKUMA for entrusting us with this responsibility. This partnership not only enhances the profile of the ACIG and expands our vast collection. I believe we have over 5,000 audiovisual materials already, and this collection will add depth and significance to the collection. So this partnership not only enhances the profile of the ACIJ, JMB, but also reinforces our shared dedication to cultural preservation, education, and innovation. As we formalize this handover, let us recognize the power of storytelling in shaping our identities and fostering unity. May these recordings continue to educate, entertain, and inspire generations to come. Once again, welcome, and thank you all for being here this afternoon.
So next, we will have the Executive Director of the Institute of Jamaica, Mrs. Michelle Creed Nelson, to come and welcome me.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. To our distinguished guests, Dr. Amina Blackwood Meeks, Festival Founder and Artistic Director, the NTUKUMA Storytellers. We're expecting Mr. David Brown from the ministry. I'm not seeing him as yet, but he should be here shortly. Dr. Maria Smith from the Jamaica National Commission for UNESCO, and to our valued audience joining us both in person and online, welcome. On behalf of the Institute of Jamaica, I'm honored to be here with you today as we formally archive Anansi Soundsplash at the African Caribbean Institute of Jamaica, Jamaica Memory Bank. As a division of the IOJ, the ACIJ JMB plays a critical role in the preservation and promotion of Jamaica's intangible cultural heritage, and today's event is a powerful testament to that mission. We are honored to collaborate with NTUKUMA, the Storytelling Foundation of Jamaica, in safeguarding this invaluable collection of Anansi storytelling. It is through partnerships like this that we strengthen the bonds between institutions, communities, and cultural practitioners, ensuring that our heritage remains vibrant and accessible. This collaboration stands as a testament to the power of collective effort in safeguarding our cultural expressions for generations to come. For generations, Anansi has been more than just a character in our folklore. He is a keeper of wisdom, a symbol of ingenuity, and a bridge between the past and the present. His stories have traveled across continents, carrying with them the spirit of our people, and today we take an important step in ensuring they continue to resonate with future generations. The IOJ remains committed to the protection and celebration of our cultural legacy, and this initiative reinforces the importance of archiving, documentation, and education in keeping our traditions alive. I must commend ACIJ's team for their dedication to this cause, as well as extend my sincere gratitude to NTUKUMA for their invaluable contributions to storytelling and cultural preservation. I just want to add here, from a personal perspective, that as a child, right, when I was a little girl, I used to, and I'm from rural Jamaica, I'm from St. Mary, I used to spend some of my holidays with my grandmother, who used to live in an even more rural part, and her cousin, Ma Smith, right, and he was a storyteller par excellence. When he would come from bush in the night, you know what I mean, and he would gather me and my sister and my cousin Princess, and at that time I was below 10, and he would gather us and he would tell us Nancy's story, and he would roll in calf story as well, and we're free to go to bed, right? So I know what this like. I don't see that anymore. I don't know if it happening anymore, right? But it was like every night thing. I don't know where he got these stories from, but it must have been coming down, you know, through the various generations, and it's just that was lost. In those days, there was no memory bank, Jamaica memory bank, because he would have been an ideal candidate to be interviewed. I know, and he died many years ago. Like I said, that's when I was small, but I'm glad that we're now doing this, and so that we can protect and really, you know, preserve that part of our heritage, right? So, you know, we have to start somewhere. Thank you.
Well, since this event is in collaboration with the Storytelling Foundation of Jamaica in NTUKUMA, it is only right that we hear from the storytellers themselves. So we have a narration, What Happened to the Sumerians, by the NTUKUMA storytellers. Please welcome them.
Good afternoon, everyone. What a difficult role to be in, because normally performers get on stage and just perform. And this morning, Jerry Neal had to give up a performance job because he was the MC for the occasion, and he tried to explain his two different energies, and I don't know how to mix them. So he chose to be the MC and not the performer. But on this occasion, I want to begin by saying thank you so much, Dr. Henry, for this collaboration. Thank you so much, Mrs. Creed Nelson, my friend of many years, for allowing us to be able to do this. And what you said is exactly why we're doing what we are doing. I want to say hello to all the people who are joining us from far and abroad and distant places. And I want to say a warm good afternoon to my friend, Mrs. Maria Smith, who told me yesterday that the place I work now is the place she built and leave away, but me not tell you where that place is. I'm just glad that she's a builder at some other times of the day. To say thanks to Miss Maxine Watson and her staff for the hard work that they have put into this, and to thank all of you for joining us in person and online. Why do we do what we do? What time is it? What time is it? That's not the time I meant. But did you know that the people who invented the way to separate the days into seconds and minutes and hours look like us? They're called the Sumerians. They're recorded in the scrolls of Nineveh. And perhaps if you were to ask what happened to the Sumerians, you'd have to go on a hunt So there was this little boy who wanted to know what happened to the Sumerians. And he searched high and low and then decided that he should go to school. And when he went to school, the first thing he asked his teacher was, what happened to the Sumerians? And she had been writing notes on the blackboard. And she said, I don't really know, but I've come to understand that they invented one of the earliest forms of writing called the cuneiform. And that's all I know. Maybe if you really want to know what happened to the Sumerians, you should ask a farmer. Because anybody who knows how to take a seed and a little dirt and a little sunlight and a little water and make food must know things. So the little boy went walking until he found a farmer. And he said, can you tell me what happened to the Sumerians? And the farmer said, they were metallurgists. They are responsible for the plow that I'm using. You see that water wheel? Without the Sumerians, we wouldn't have a water wheel. And he spoke about so many things the Sumerians had built. The little boy said, then them never stopped to rest. And he said, yes, they created board games. And above all, they loved to tell stories. And the story they loved to tell the most was about their great king, Gilgamesh. He was their king. His name appears in the scroll of kings that we find today in the library of Nineveh. He was like the first Superman. People say he was 2/3 man and 1/3 God, and there is nothing they love better than telling stories about Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh loved his people and they loved him right back, and above all, Gilgamesh loved a great adventure. One time, Gilgamesh heard that at the bottom of the ocean was the tree of life. Gilgamesh said, what? See, like how you think me is 2/3 God and 1/3 man. Me want to find the tree of life because me have to live forever. But to get to the ocean, Gilgamesh had to go through the forbidden forest. Even Gilgamesh had not been through the forbidden forest. But him want to find the tree of life, so him saggle up and him going into the forest. At the entrance to the forest were 2 scorpions, 2 giant scorpions, you know, for them job, for guard the forest. And them said, I wish party I go. And Gilgamesh said, don't you know who I am? Them said, you know, say, are we guard the forest and we decide who can go inside. And Gilgamesh said, don't you know who I am? I am King Gilgamesh. And the little scorpion them say, you could have king little more, you know, say, you could have just done you with one sting out of with tail. And Gilgamesh just stepped past them. Little did Gilgamesh know that as soon as his back was turned, the little scorpion them run gone tell the snake that a man with same name, Gilgamesh, gone in the forbidden forest, and he must go and look for the tree of life. Eventually, Gilgamesh came to the ocean, and Gilgamesh knew that he had to take one big breath and dive down to the bottom of the ocean. And there he met an octopus who said, him a the guard for the tree of life. And if Gilgamesh think him bad, come. And him a give him some wave after wave after wave. How much time the octopus could have wave? Gilgamesh just stepped past him with one breath. Gilgamesh remembered he had been taught, never take more than you need. And he only needed one branch from the tree of life. And he take off the one branch, one breath, and pushed himself back to the surface. He was so happy he could breathe. And he came back through the forbidden forest. But he was tired. When he came to the entrance, he never seen no scorpion, but him see a log. So Gilgamesh decided he would rest on the log, and then he would go home and tell everybody, look, the tree of life, we're going to live forever. And him couldn't wait to tell him mother, but he was tired. So he fell asleep on the log. While Gilgamesh asleep, the snake come and take away the one branch from the tree of everlasting life. And Gilgamesh wake up and him not see it. Him say, I have a choice. I could have go back right now, but I know where it is. So I will go home and say, I found it, and then I will come back. And he started to walk home. He saw nobody on the streets. And Gilgamesh muttered to himself, what happened to the Sumerians? And him a walk, and him a walk, and him a walk. What happened to the Sumerians? And him a walk, and him a walk, and him a walk, till him hear some hissing behind him. When him look round, and the two little scorpion, what happened to the Sumerians? You forget to tell them to crush scorpion. What happened to the Sumerians? You forget to tell them how much things you build and create civilization. What happened to the Sumerians? What happened to the Sumerians? They forgot their history. The little scorpion, them a whisper. They forgot their history. But what happened to the Sumerians? They forgot their history. And so they died.
All right, can I have another round of applause, please, at this song too? Fun story. When in a past life, I used to read the epics of Gilgamesh. And if you know me in real life, I'm a comedian. I think I'm the funniest person that ever graced this earth. So I had some coworkers, and just to be funny, I told them if I've ever to have a child, his name would be Gilgamesh. And they're like, Gilgamesh, Chelsea, what kind of name that? And I was like, Gilgamesh is one of the greatest men that ever lived. The greatest stories of all time. So that would be a great name to give a child. Safe is to say, I really would have named my child Gilgamesh. I would have subjected them to that. Now, we will move on to some reasoning. And we have 3 panelists here today. Unfortunately, Mr. David Brown, he won't be able to join us. So we have someone in his stead of course, someone very capable. So we'll begin with our moderator, our panel moderator, Mistress Georgette McGlashan Miller. Mrs. Georgette McGlashan Miller is an advocate for Jamaican culture and language. She currently serves as research fellow at the African Caribbean Institute of Jamaica, Jamaica Memory Bank, where she has worked for 1 year and 5 months. She's also a Jamaica language facilitator at Chatwa, Jamaica, promoting the use of Jamaican patois. Georgette holds a master's in cultural studies and a Bachelor of Arts in entertainment and cultural enterprise management, both from UWI-Mona. Her research explores the resilience of dancehall culture during the COVID-19 pandemic, exemplified by an analysis of cartels song Dance Hall. She's also the author of 2 books, Breaks Time and Seesaw, written in Jamaican Patois and English. Both books, I can say, are very good. So please welcome Ms. Miller. Next, we have Dr. Maria A. Robinson-Smith. Dr. Maria Robinson-Smith is an author, cultural consultant, and program manager at the Jamaica National Commission, UNESCO. She was formerly a performing arts coordinator at the Jamaican Cultural Development Commission and has taught at the University of the West Indies, the Edna Manley College of the Visual and Performing Arts, and the Michael University College. Please welcome Dr. Maria Smith. Dr. Amina Blackwood Meeks. Dr. Amina Blackwood Meeks is a writer, actress, storyteller, founder/artistic director of the NTUKUMA, the Storytelling Foundation of Jamaica. Please welcome Dr. Amina Blackwood Meeks. And Ms. Marsha Hall. Ms. Marsha Hall is a research officer at the African Caribbean Institute of Jamaica, Jamaica Memory Bank, since 2022. Her work involves ethnographic research, documentation of Jamaica's intangible cultural heritage, conducting interviews for the Jamaica Memory Bank, and presentations on Caribbean/African history and culture to secondary and tertiary level institutions. Marsha also acts within capacity of a consultant to researchers on African Jamaican folk culture. She holds a master's degree in Eastern Studies from the Middle East Technical University in Ankara, Turkey. Please welcome Ms. Marsha Hall.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our very interesting panel discussion. Today we'll be looking at intangible cultural heritage and the importance of housing this collection from the NTUKUMA Foundation that will be launched today and that will be stored in the Jamaica Memory Bank. I'm Georgette McGlashan Miller. All right, so panelists, I'm going to give you 2 minutes to just say something about intangible cultural heritage and the importance of that, and then we can just launch into a few questions. No more than a few. Right. And we're going to begin with Dr. Smith.
Good evening, everyone. And if you know Jamaican timetable, you know that 2 minutes can stretch, not true? Good. Yes, first let me congratulate the ACIJ for putting on this program, for combining with my good friend here, Dr. Amina, because ACIJ, maybe I should just be saying, oh, you're doing your work, is really the focal point for Jamaica, for the Intangible Heritage Convention, the 2003 convention. So in putting on things like these, they are really, really director doing the work that they are supposed to do. This collection, the NTUKUMA collection, is, I think it's a timely launch. We grew up as kids, just like you. I know my grandfather was a better storyteller than that gentleman you're talking about. And he used to, just like you say, in St. Anne, next door to St. Mary, come in from the fields, do his dues, and then tell all his grandchildren who had come down from Kingston to spend the holiday, all of these lovely Anansi stories. And I was happy that director made the point that it's not only about the whole thing as a trickster, but sometimes in our culture, we have to dig deep. We have to understand certain canons in order to really get the true value of our heritage. UNESCO tells us that intangible heritage provides us with a sense of identity and belonging, linking our past through the present with our future. We call it intangible stroke living heritage because it is supposed to be continuing. And I know that this is museum work in storing these tapes and so on, but what is good is that we can always come here to refer to them and keep this heritage going. Because this heritage that our ancestors and our grandparents have passed down to us includes our oral traditions, storytelling a foremost one, cultural performances, and all the rituals and festivals, our craft. Because storytelling is really a site of memory. And it really does play an important part in transmitting our history from one generation to the other. I want to say here that even though my friend was really talking to us and telling us the story, that our stories, our intangible heritage, is stored in other forms rather than just the oral speech. Because as someone who hailed from the Jamaica School of Dance at that time, our bodily practices also record our stories and help to tell us who we are, with whom we belong, and where we are from. So all the festivals, the rhythms, the symbolic language, which we refer to as iconography. Dr. Henry and myself were at Wat Town a couple weeks ago, and I have pictures of the people writing, scrolling on the ground. And those are stories. What is probably sad is that we hope we're not like those people that we heard about a while ago, is that we have not, many of us have not learned how to interpret, how to decode these stories. But we hope it's not too late and that at some point, especially through this institute, we will get a chance to come to some of these. Because the dance, the symbolic language, the writings on these seals really provides us with cues about our history. And that is why it is said, and I think in a book somewhere in this building, that when an old man dies, a book is lost. It is also one of the reasons, and I have to mention UNESCO, that UNESCO gives funding to countries like ours to ensure that we do not allow these practices to die. But how do we get it? By writing projects. So I say that, and I stress that because all the time I say that we like to get money, but we don't like to write projects. So there are projects that we can write to UNESCO to get funding from all of this. And as I said before, the intangible heritage is really very important because it gives us a sense of history, a sense of personal and group identities. It is text, just like the written text that you buy the books and read. Our text is written through our intangible heritage. And we have to remember that our ancestors did not lost their language was taken from them. And they did not leave the history recorded in books and in great museums, but on the body and through our stories. So it is very important for us to preserve these stories. And also, if I get the time, I will look at how we can, some of the ways that we can preserve these stories, because they are so important.
Definitely, you'll get the time. Go ahead, Dr. Meeks.
Thank you very much. I know that we have people in abroad and foreign places who are tuned in, because one of them just sent me a WhatsApp message to say they're enjoying the event. One of the things I love about Jamaica and Jamaicans, and many of you might have heard me say before, how much we amaze me. We are the most amazing people that I know. And one of the amazing things about us is how we cause people to redefine what they thought they had defined. And so they think they have defined intangible cultural heritage, but they have not included when my spirit tell me. The very important spiritual part of intangible cultural heritage, we have to make sure it is written in there. Because when a Jamaican say, my spirit tell me something, or me disobey my spirit, we're also talking about what the Yorubas mean when they say, people like Amina and Marsha and Georgette and Maria are the foolishness when them talking about empirical evidence. Because knowledge is what I carry in my belly. And there is no survey that you can survey and say what I carry in my belly. But in the moment when I need to apply what I have carried in my belly, my spirit tell me, say, is that I must do at the moment. And so I want to say that although that might not be in the convention or the definition, because we name Jamaicans, we have to put it there. Yeah. Because we are truly a world power. And if you don't believe we're a world power, go back to a 1992 National Geographic magazine. And those of you who know National Geographic know, say, it don't publish, right? I haven't seen one recently, so I'm assuming. But in a 1992 National Geographic, there was a pictorial on Jamaica. National Geographic is not no scholarly, although it is scholarly, but we learn to define scholarly through Western eyes. It's a pictorial, and then take some nice pictures, and then put a caption. And so there was this pictorial on Jamaica, and a couple paragraphs. Unforgettable. National Geographic wrote, not since Crete has an island nation had this impact on civilization. I wonder if we know who we are. I wonder if we understand what that means about the culture that we carry in our belly that the rest of the world needs. Now, this was before Shelley and Fraser started going like, share the best thing, you know. This is before Usain Bolt, Guani, within little self. This is before the modern iteration of Jamaican music. So if that article were to be rewritten, and I've been promising myself to rewrite it, what would they say about our current impact on civilization? And the third thing I want to say in these opening 2 minutes is that when we underrate and underplay the value of intangible cultural heritage, the people who want to give us a backseat don't forget. Barry Chevans wrote an article. You know, Sam write plenty of articles. But in this particular article, he wrote about the time when the authorities began to take Bedward seriously. Because up until that point, he was a madman. He was a lunatic. We can laugh. And them a laugh. And them a try to get we to laugh at our own condemnation. Till Bedward opened his mouth and said, the black wall is going to overturn the white wall. And the people who remember and know the value of intangible cultural heritage say, hold on, don't Paul Bogle did say that? Some of us never did know that Paul Bogle did say it. But to them, here is this man calling up the spirit and the intention of Paul Bogle, and so we have to stop laugh and stop going like him is a madman and treat him seriously and put him in the place where we put madman who should not be treated seriously by the masses. So there are three things I want to say there. One is about how we need to insert our perspective of intangible cultural heritage into the current definition and conventions. Two is that critical to that is our spirit. And three is the political power of what we remember about who we are as part of our cultural heritage.
Thank you, Dr. Meeks. Go ahead, Ms. Hall.
Okay, I just want to state that the African Caribbean Institute of Jamaica, Jamaica Memory Bank, is committed to the preservation and safeguarding of Jamaica's intangible cultural heritage and working closely with national and international stakeholders whose initiative serves to educate, inform, and foster a sense of identity for Jamaicans while being relatable to a broad audience. So oftentimes when we speak about, Jamaica's intangible cultural heritage, what is often overlooked is the island's breathtaking landscape that unravels a colorful story, one that has continued to endure in the annals of national, regional, and global stories that has captured the imaginations of millions of people. As Dr. Amina Meek said, do we really understand who we are as a people? And since our location is here in the historic city of downtown Kingston, home to the 7th largest natural harbor in the world, and it is such a surprise that not many people know that Kingston Harbor is actually the 7th largest natural water body. And it is no coincidence that the original people, the Tainos, word for Jamaica, Jamaica, is translated as the land of wood and water. So in their acknowledging the spectacular beauty of the island, Jamaica's indigenous people were the first to practically recognize the importance of the physical environment in light of their traditional knowledge. So beyond the popular Jamaican rhetoric and ubiquitous global representation of reggae music, sports, and culinary delights, the inherent beauty and richness of the geographical landscape connects the ecology of the island with its history, resources, and people. So essentially, intangible cultural heritage links insights from geography, environment, people, and community. And of course, Kingston Harbor, a non-man-made natural resource, should not be only viewed as a backdrop to a person's Instagram reel or social media aesthetics. Also, even though these are important, because they're also a part of storytelling. So, in the past, we used to have Junkanoo bands, carnival extravaganza would be featured in this space. And for those of us who are part of the cultural, even if you're not a part of the cultural revolution or the redevelopment happenings of downtown Kingston, you realize that the waterfront, as it is popularly known, is home to lots of social events. We have Pondy Plaza. Mrs. Magleshan and I were privileged to cover that event. The craft market, which in and of itself is also a very historic place, was home to the Jamaica Food Festival recently, which the ACIJ documented as well. And a very important note that perhaps academicians, researchers, and students of history who are familiar with Kingston and the downtown area should know that the harbor was also a port of entry for the enslaved African people who were transported here in Jamaica as goods. And now the harbor is now a site, S-I-T-E, and a S-I-G-H-T site for a different type of commodity. It is one of the Caribbean's premier logistic hub. It is also a site for recreation. On a Friday evening, the harbor is full of people. It is where uptown and downtown masses meet, regardless of socioeconomic status. The harbor is an epicenter for even budding romance I mean, Mr. Pasley and I were privileged to take some beautiful photographs.
Budding romance.
Budding romance, yes.
Mr. Patsy.
Of, persons just relaxing by the harbor. So it is also a third space, in this day and age when third spaces are so difficult to come by because of redevelopment and urban sprawl and pollution. The harbor really, holds a central space in Jamaica's intangible cultural heritage. So downtown Kingston as well, with a rich historical legacy, continued to set the standard for all that is possible when sustainable interest is buoyed by long-term investment, not only in the landscape but the residents, because what is the harbor without the people? And just not as human capital, but resilient, hardworking, creative, and proud people. When we tap into the history of a nation through storytelling, we're essentially using these stories unique to our people's lived experience and realities to inspire and hopefully to transform a country. So instead of just listening to this brief talk about Kingston Harbor, I invite you to take a stroll around the waterfront, this living entity that carries ancestral ties. Note the deep, dark hues of the water, the fascinating pelicans, people say birds, they're pelicans. Stroll along the Palisados, which was once a plantation and home to 23,000 coconuts bearing palm trees, and evidence are still there today. And of course, feel the warmth of the sea breeze and the sun on your skin. Those of us who are shying away from the sun, there's a few trees that still give you shade there. And of course, Kingston Harbor is an ecosystem that truly reflects important aspects of Jamaica's intangible cultural heritage. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hall. Mr. Pasley. Thank you very much, Ms. Hall. And I'm sure we learned a lot about our panelists just now and their areas of expertise. Let me also highlight that today, March 20th, is World Storytelling Day, and that's one of the main reasons that Dr. Amina Meeks decided to hand over her collection on this day. So in that vein, my question to Dr. Meeks
okay, go ahead.
is, seeing that we're celebrating World Storytelling Day, why is it important to continue passing down oral traditions in this digital age, and how?
World Storytelling Day is a colonization of the mind. And the fact that we're launching this collection on World Storytelling Day is an act of resistance. UNESCO don't have nothing to do with World Storytelling Day. I happen to know the people who have to do with World Storytelling Day. I don't know if Sven Erik from Sweden is online. But I know that one year, you see, my good storytelling friend, Sven Erik, call up some other Scandinavian friends and say, we should have tell some story upon this day. And we should have call it World Storytelling Day. This is a serious joke, you know. And them call it World Storytelling Day. And every year on this date, March 20, them gather and them a tell story. Till they meet a man named Tim Shepard, and I don't know if Tim is online. Tim used to work for the IMF. And Tim decided that the most important thing to do with your life is to tell stories. And that he was going to be doing applied storytelling. So he would tell stories to businesses and help them understand how the personal stories of their employees could assist with building up productivity. So every year from about October, Tim now sends out the email to say, what should the theme be for next year? And people send in themes, and Tim, distill them till them find a theme. But it named World Storytelling Day. It was proclaimed by people who want to tell them stories to the world before UNESCO proclaimed the following day as World Poetry Day. And therefore, by claiming this day, because the day come already, you know, we can't uncommit. We're saying, but we have a unique perspective. And we salute our friends from Europe. We go there all the time. Them invite we to tell story. We salute them. But look here now. We are part of the world. And we have unique stories to tell. And I learned, Marsha, late in my life, I learned that there are stories in the places that Jamaicans traditionally gather. There is a reason we gather in Halfway Tree. There is a reason we gather at Coronation Market.
Yes.
And when I was little, my mother used to dress us up and bring us down to the waterfront. A Myrtle Bank Hotel, it did name? We hear military band play music on a Sunday evening. That is why I love military band music and pageantry. What my mother did not know was that on the 17th of February, 1808, a shipment, an illegal, as far as I know, all of these shipments are illegal, but an illegal shipment of enslaved Africans landed just outside where we see the Edna Manley Negro Aroused.
Yeah.
The world needs to know that when the transatlantic, it can't be a trade car, we never get no money for it. So what we're going to call it, Maria? We need a nice Jamaican term. But when that thing was ended by the act of their parliament on the 25th of March, 1807, there was a loophole. And the loophole said that any ship that was already at sea would be allowed to continue the journey. What we have learned is that it took about 3 months for them to bring us from here, carry go to Liverpool, repackage we and send we somewhere else. Now please tell me how this man is coming here 11 months later. For it to be discovered that he had made his third journey. He carry one shipment go to Antigua and he carry one shipment go to Dominica and he go back now. Take a Jamaican to catch him. And it's when him reach Jamaica, he get catch. And him get catch because there is a term that I haven't fully grasped. And the term is a prize ship. If a ship arrives in the port and there is something which causes it to have a case in court, it is called a prize ship. And so the SS George became a prize ship. And as so comes we know say, him come here illegally. Almost 1 year after the trade was abolished, him a come. Now that is perhaps the most well-known case. But there was another one which happened in Port Royal in November of that year. So them is very out of order. Them still a come. And those are stories we need to tell. When people come along the waterfront, then they need to know that this thing happened to us. And that every step that we make on almost any part of Jamaica, but certainly downtown, every time we walk, we're walking on holy ground. And we need to research those stories properly, get all of the details, because I have not yet gotten all of the details of the SS George, because it's not in our records. So much of who we are in the National Archives of the United Kingdom. I have to thank Professor Shepherd for bringing the SS George to my attention. And she brought it to my attention by saying, why you have Jamaica Day on the last Friday of February? And then she said, Jamaica Day should have happened on the 17th. And she loved tell your things and not tell your things. So then I had to say, I have to go find out what happened on the 17th of February. And there's something about being curious, like a child, which brings us the best stories. And so all of us should exercise that curiosity to say, I wonder why, and bring those stories to life. So I say that because it's important that as the ACIJ promotes the waterfront for its beautiful natural heritage, for all of the things that our parents bring from country and make into mats and baskets, and we can go and call it Jamaican craft, our story, the human history of what we have endured and what we have survived and overcome right under our foot, and need to be written and be told.
Thank you, Dr. Meeks. And let me piggyback on Dr. Meeks' statements about stories, in that something I always reiterate, it's to write our own stories. History is not what happens, history is what is written. And she didn't answer my digital age question, you know. But in this age...
I'm going to answer it now. You see, because me head in a different age.
Right.
You know, you can tell people's age by many things, because some dances I can't do because my body language never learned the movements. But the digital age is so critical.
Yes.
Such an important place to put our stories. When I first started to go to Scotland and meet the Gaelic people eons ago, they didn't write down their stories because the value of the stories is that you can carry it in your head in much the same way the African griots will carry thousands of years of history in their head. We have some Jamaicans here, you know.
Yes.
You see my Aunt Glenys, if you say, Aunt Glenys, I know a lady named Maria Smith here. Smith. Don't our father used to make shoes, and it was 3 of them, and we school them go to. And we need to document those people as well. Like we must walk with recordings that when them start talk, we just turn it on. And so the Gaelic people didn't used to write down their stories. I'm talking like 1992 when I first encountered them. And by 2000 and something, I go back to Scotland and I get book, you know, because them said we're not going to live forever. And our children do not immediately see the value of what we're doing. And so we need to document it so that when we're gone and they begin to wonder if, here is the book. And we can apply the same thing to the digital age. We are not reflected the way we see ourselves on TikTok, on any of those platforms. And so we need to decide how we want to be seen and make sure that we are visible from our lenses on those platforms.
Right. And a big advantage of the digital age, I mean, a lot of this generation, seeing is believing. You not only can tell them, you can show them, and they can have it for posterity. And I mean, there are several ways of telling story in the digital age, you know. The last one I saw was a research where it creeped out a lot of people, but I don't think it creeped out black people as much. We are used to ancestors and these things. Where if you've lost a loved one, we would see it in the movies as holograms, but you could take the recordings and the memories of this person and simulate some kind of interaction with the people that are gone, having conversations and telling the stories. So, like every other instrument, a tool, you use it to your advantage or not to see how best you can document your own story. Another point I wanted to pick up on was how the world storytelling started and how, I don't remember the name of the gentleman that thought...
Spend Eric.
Right, to tell stories to his co-workers. And I thought in my mind that all of our experiences are important. Sometimes we're not storytellers like Dr. Meeks, and we can't make it dramatic the way Chelsea Stevens can do it, and you know, I won't scare you with the way I tell stories. But we have something of value. We all carry something. And that point that Dr. Meeks made about the spirits, the thing in your belly, it is so hard to articulate, but it is something that moves from a generation to the next generation, where a child can be separated from parents and come with the same behavior, attitude, norms, voice, and had absolutely no interaction. That is intangible. that is on the same level with knowledge ways and how you do something. And I'm going to use the cliche words. It's like an echo in the bone. It's like something in the blood that carries. You can't explain it, but it is there.
May I interject just to say this? In my language module, and I teach language and identity, there's an example I like to use, and the generic interpretation might be you're asking someone about their parents. But if you ask that question in Kingston, you would say literally, who are your parents? And you mean who are your biological parents? Mm-hmm. There's a way to ask that question in St. Elizabeth, who payo? And it means who brought you up. So who brought you up don't have to be your biological parents. Sister P, you come from Portland. I fell off my chair when the question is posed in parts of Portland as, who born you? That's right. And who born you can be your grandfather. Because the minute you arrive, you have brought your grandfather's spirit with you. And so when we call somebody Babatunde, and we're saying the grandfather's spirit has returned, or Baba Jide. So I'm supporting your point that we become our grandparents, our great-grandparents, whom we have never met, because their spirit lingers and born with.
Okay. So I have a question for Dr. Smith, but I'm going to let her complete that point that she wanted to share first.
Well, I don't know what the question is, but I was just continuing the conversation here. And Amina spoke about the whole business of Bedwood, which came, just really clicked something in my memory that links me to my grandfather. As a little girl, my grandfather told me the stories of Bedwood because he came from Senton in a truck back to be baptized by Bedwood in Augustown. He and hundreds of people across the island came to be baptized by Bedwood in Augustown. He was a Black Baptist deacon. But all of these people understood that connection with Bedwood and their ancestry, and they came in. But you know what that did to me? As a little girl, we just listened. And it, you know, I was always so excited. Another man named Roland Boyd, who used to be one of Bedwood's people, also told me about Bedwood. And then when I left that school year, and they asked me to choreograph Bedwood, Louis Marriott's play, then I remembered that those stories that my grandfather told me about that helped me to context, to put that play, the movement into context. In so much that when saw the cast, you know, love to jump up and fall down and jump like, you know, dance, and you know, them dancing about, pushing me and saying, what is this? I knew how to pitch it because it had to reflect a certain kind of spirituality. So it helped me to context. I'm saying that it's very, very important for us to keep telling our stories because it helps us, helps the children to link that generation. I was able to link my grandfather's generation with my generation and to the generations that came after because I was able to use that knowledge to understand Bedwoodism and not to take it like a madman thing, but a serious effort, and also to go into even more research so that I got it right. So it is important for us for context so that we understand, because it is meaning that gives us our identity. So when we do things, we have to understand it, we have to know what it means in order for us to really be our true selves. The other, ask a question and then I'll probably
All right, so you spoke about funding and writing projects as a way that UNESCO aids in preserving ICH. Do you know of any models or any other countries that you could tell us about that Jamaica could learn from those best practices in how they preserve their ICH?
Well, I think you have a gentleman close to you now who know to use the website. UNESCO have a way of publishing all of their projects and so on the website. So we just have to go there to
You hear
look
that, gentleman?
for them.
You
But,
just have to go there, gentleman.
And ladies too, yes.
Okay.
But I want to say though, and I'm not going to let you hijack me this thing again now. I want to say that a favorite quote of mine, and I use it all the time, it goes like this: how easy it is to forget when there are no occasions for us to remember. And even though we have now been into this modern age and we have stopped doing a lot of these things that I heard mentioned, we no longer do this parade, that parade, and so on. But what is important is for us to know that we have to create the occasions for these things to be passed on. And this is one such occasion. Congratulations, Ms. Amina.
And give thanks to ACI.
Yes, yes. Because we now have to now create the occasions. We know that we have to pass on these stories. So we have to plan, we have to create the movement. The JCDC tries to do quite a bit of that by recreating the different festivals across the island. And I think this is a space that we have to do that. I also want to encourage you, even in the absence of money, Madam Director, I know you're here, that it is good to try and keep the connection with our African partners. That is also a project that we could get together and write to see how we could share. Because some way back, you know, and I think you all guess how old I am, but way back, and I think it's after, while I was at that state school, and we had a thing called Research Pool that was part of this. We joined with, it was the Edom and the school at, what do you call it, Cultural Training Center at the time, and ACIJ. And they used to really have a kind of research pool. And through the late Professor Nettleford, who had those contacts, so we have to get back some of those, they used to bring in people like master drummers from Africa, musicians and dancers, that when you work with them, they helped us to connect. Because we have to remember, you know, that break-in transition we had when we were put on those ships and just carted across, losing our language and everything. There are some things, there are some blanks missing. And I never think it's too late to try to reconnect, because as I said before, it is meaning that gives us our identity. It is through understanding those icons that our parents left. It's through understanding the meaning of those. It's through representation. And we can only do this through the kind of study that this organization and people like Amina is pushing. So I just want to encourage us to keep on that vein. Having ended my sermon, yes, ma'am?
I love that quote, how easy it is to forget when there are so few occasions for us to remember. And that places a responsibility on all of us to create those occasions. And then I wanted to say that the symbols are important, intangible cultural heritage. We in NTUKUMA have a uniform, and I'm going to describe it in a little while. But today we decided we were not wearing the uniform. We were going to make a statement about Jamaica, putting our stamp on World Storytelling Day. And so wherever you see NTUKUMA storytellers today, at the library, at schools, in communities, we have on the Jamaica color because we're part of the world. This is our uniform. And this was created through discussion with Alao, who is the fabric designer from Nigeria, who operates as a cultural attaché to the Nigerian embassy, who came to Jamaica many years ago for 6 months, and who worked at, is still at JBDC, teaching fashion design, and who works part-time with Edna Manley College, that place there. I named it now, so we know what she has built and left for me. And so we had a discussion with Allow, and we said we want a uniform. And out of that discussion came something that in Africa, and it is so incorrect to talk about in Africa, but I'm going to say it now. In Africa, your garment is regarded as your second skin. That is deep. So when I came in and I saw Mrs. Georgette here in her blue and her redoing of the entonton, which is what the Anansi symbol is called in Ghana, I say, the ancestors tell you is that you must wear, and maybe they did. But this is what Allow designed for us. It is the story of the waters across which we travel. So the furthest water is the deepest blue. And the closer we come is the more the blue almost look transparent. And he put in that the symbols, the entonton for Anansi, which means wisdom. This symbol that means resilience, because not only did we bring Anansi with us, but we have to continue to be resilient to survive. And then what are the things that the Africans brought to Jamaica? See the akide? And then now the skills of metallurgy, which give us the iron. Anybody see a 3-foot pot somewhere? On the 3-foot pot is supposed to be there. Tra-la-la. Can you still hear me?
Yes, we can see.
The 3-foot pot is there.
It's at the bottom.
At the bottom, who can see it?
Yeah, to the second line.
All right, the 3-foot pot is there. They also brought the drum. Oh, you see a 3-foot pot there. And the drum, am I missing out anything in NTUKUMA people? The coal iron, right? And so this is more than a piece of fabric. This tells a story of how the two of us come together, the calabash, what them bring, what them see here, how it come together, and holding it, how everything came together, and holding it all is our resilience and the wisdom of Anansi. And so sometimes, Sister P knows this, we put on a fabric and we say, we have an African clothes. And then we say, what the African clothes mean? And it just pretty. We don't know what it mean. Many years ago, ACIJ mounted an exhibition, do you remember, of the meanings of African fabrics. I think we should redo it, because some of the things I learned there, that fabrics were created for special, so they have those that are perennial, them last forever, but they have those that are created for special occasions, like the pencil that was created for the wisdom of NTUKUMA. That is so awesome.
And that head tie also have meaning.
And the head ties have
because,
meaning.
you know, you can see a pretty head tie, and it means that my husband just dead, and you're worried, and your husband still living, you understand? So these things is very
And you don't
important.
copy somebody's head tie.
And also, I know for in Ghana, whenever women in the market have a quarrel and they want to send a message, it is also woven through their fabric.
Absolutely. And that the love story of NTUKUMA and Fatima is on display in one of their museums because it was woven into her wedding dress. Yes.
They said,
Yes.
wow. The audience will soon get to participate. I'd like to ask Ms.
No,
Hall
sorry,
one
but
more
I
question
want
before the
to,
audience.
because the Duppy speak to me now,
Yes.
I'm thinking how easy it is to forget when there are no occasions to remember. Wouldn't it be wonderful to come to a fashion show put on by the ACIJ with all of these people who make African clothes, bring the clothes to model
I
and
will say
sell,
to the
and the
gentleman over there.
stories, and the stories behind the fabric?
Yes.
Whoa, 1 minute before that gentleman over there. Let me finish up with the panel first. I mean, all these sayings are great, and we fall in love with stories and how they happen and how we express them. But we also have to look at the economic side and the political side and the reality that comes up in preserving these stories. So my question is directed to Ms. Hall. we know that the ACIJ documents these stories through interviews and various ways of data collection. But could you let us know what are some of the challenges that we face in both documenting and preserving? Because when we finish and we record, we're going to put up, and the generations still need to be able to access it. What are some of the challenges?
Oh, I thought you were going to ask me about Kingston Harbor, but nevertheless, the challenges we face, there are myriads of challenges that institutions that are government-led, face. Of course, funding. We're not the only institution in Jamaica that, we are the only institution that does this type of work in Jamaica. But under the Institute of Jamaica, there are other divisions as well. So I guess funding has to be equally distributed. In terms of equipment, we have worked closely. I know, for example, the library staff has worked closely with UNESCO in procuring certain tools for digitization, taking things from old cassettes, digitizing them. I know that UNESCO has procured a lot of machine to assist in that, to lessen the burden. Persons tend to forget, and of course, naturally, people die. So sometimes the lived realities are not transcended to the next generation. For example, Kumina, the Kikongo language, we do not have many speakers, so it is not a functional language. Right. People do not speak Kikongo in their day-to-day life. Same for Cromanti among the Maroon people. So there's institutional challenges, and there are also challenges we face when we go into the field as researchers. But I think the ACIJ JMB has been doing a stellar work despite the challenges. We have been very resourceful and we have been very resilient. Each time we are able to host events such as these, we have support from the public, from the Institute, from the Ministry of Culture, Gender and Entertainment and Sport as well. So despite the challenges, we're still here.
Okay.
Literally, figuratively.
So I wanted us to talk about that because, we get very excited in the moment and the possibilities. And even now that Dr. Mix is saying, let us have a fashion show. We had a fashion show, Sacred Attire for Revivalists, and we try to show these things. But as to how far the reach goes and as to how far we can go and how long we can keep that information for other people to access it, how can they access it beyond the coming in, the online access, if we are going to give away this information for free, which are some of the challenges we face in the field. For example, Coromante, the Maroons, it's only some of the children that they'll share it with. So a language dies because of the oral tradition, because of not documenting, because of secrecy, because of limits. Also, are we considering workshops? My other question would have been, how do we encourage the communities to preserve storytelling? What are the activities that we have outside of a panel discussion like this? Thoughts like those for longevity
in the
and
past,
preservation.
the ACIJ has hosted workshops with members of the intangible cultural communities. If you check the records in the library, Ms. Watson can speak to that. Some of us are very new to the African Caribbean Institute of Jamaica Memory Bank, but if you delve into the archives, you will see workshops, you'll see poster boards that they have worked closely with UNESCO to have and other stakeholders. We have an archive with over 10,000 videos. I know that the library has taken several initiatives to have film screening or to show archives, release archives to the public to introduce this younger and new generation to the work of persons such as the late Dr. Olive Lewin, Rex Nuttaford, Barry Chevans, and of course, current researchers. So in stages, slowly but surely, there's a gradual process, and it is happening.
May I just say something here?
The audience wants to participate.
Yes. Just one thing, though. One, in working in this ministry, the Ministry of Culture, there are partnerships that we can have. For example, the National Library has a way of storing information and sending it out. They have quite a thing. There is a University of the West Indies that has a department, Karimak. and that goes. And I think partnerships, instead of just depending, they say on yourself, let's involve the cultural community. It's the community that will make it work.
Okay, if we have no more comments.
Just to say that this morning, NTUKUMA launched 25 storytelling clubs.
Wow.
Coming from all across Jamaica, Hanover, Westmoreland, you name it. A couple of parishes were not there. And each club and senior citizens, the Jamaica Society for the Blind, also has their storytelling club. And each club would have left with a structure, a purpose, and a menu of activities to select from throughout the year.
Excellent.
And we have borrowed a term that I think was coined by Professor Shepherd, that we are not just not only storytellers, we are literary archaeologists. We're going to dig up,
wow.
We're going to record, and we're going to preserve the stories that are unique to our communities.
Okay, Dr. Henry, you can go ahead and then give it to that young lady in the red.
That young lady is Sister
Yes.
P.
To Sister P.
Who is the architect
Yes.
of Fiwisinting.
I know that.
I will yield.
So you get the microphone after.
I will yield to Sister P.
Okay.
With respect to my
Okay,
elders.
respectfully. Go ahead, Sister P.
You remember, the minute I walked in and I saw you, I went right back to those days. People here don't know, they don't understand how far we go back. Yes. But there is something that I would really like to talk about, because we keep talking about the Coromantee language, the Coromantee this, the Coromantee that. There are no Coromantee people. They are Fante people. We have spent time in the Coromantee town. And the chief has told us that these people are Fante, that there are no what you call Coromantee people. But it's something that keeps coming down and, being repeated and repeated and repeated. No, but I was with the chief. We were in the Coromantee, not just me alone. You were
But
there.
this is a part of the
And
secrecy.
didn't he tell you
And
that the people are Fante? The Fante people are part of the Akan nation. Yes. But they don't call themselves Coromantee people. They call themselves Fante people. I don't know. Go ahead, Maria.
We are from all of these nations. And when I travel around with revival people and my grandfather, these people knew their tribes. Revivalism is one of that form in this country that allow you through certain rituals to know your tribe. My grandfather used to tell me, my Senton grandfather, I am Coromantee Ashanti and I do not work for white people for them call you boy. My other grandfather that was a bongo man, and he said to me, what was this bongo thing that he said to me? But whatever, I'll have to look it up again, but I remember it. It was when I came to do my research, I realized that what my Jamaican grandfather told me, it was the theme of the bongo people. And I read that from one of our African professors. When I went to I went both to the Coromantee village and the Fante village when we went to Ghana. You remember with Jalani, Sonia, and all of us. And I have even pictures of those things. And you could see all the drawings on the wall, and each of these represented different tribes. And when you go to revival churches, these days they are cleaning them off the wall. I read some people in here would tell them to stop doing it. And they are cleaning off these signs, but these signs were the same signs that matched the tribes back in where they come from. So we're not just one African from one country, we come from a continent. And even sometimes among revival people, This revival church, we said this church here not doing it right. And then they have to be reminded that you might have come from down east, but that one come from down west. So we have to know that we have to open, and this is why I keep saying that. But I said that we need to probably try and go back to these days, money or no money, when we can bring in people to help us sometimes to analyze and to go through these things. So all of these people are here. Let me tell you. If you, Patterson will tell you all on the Patterson, that depends on who. Those people, those Caramanti people, were the people who broke the war, them here, you know, and so on. So the different parts of our history, it depends on who came when. Different ships at different time brought people from different sections. So we are all here, and that is why my favorite revival leader was a man that same as the all-nation king.
Go ahead, Director.
Thank you so much, panel, for your presentations. So many things to pick from. But I'll begin by saying that as practitioners, as scholars, as storytellers, if we take seriously the idea, the reality of spirit, we would really know that knowledge never dies. There's a thing called spiritual DNA, in which if information is quote unquote lost, there's a way in which spirit brings it back from one generation to the next. It may not show up in the same way, but it will come back. And Dr. Meeks mentioned it about the child being born with the spirit of his grandfather. And I also have a challenge with the term, the quote, history is not what is told, it is what is written. And if you look at us as a people across the Black Atlantic, we don't write history, we embody history. It is through our dance, it is through our language, you know. And just like in revival, unlike mainstream Christians where they read the Bible and they sit down and they pray, we grown it. There are some things you cannot express with words, you see? But those are my comments. But I also want to say that we have started conversations with Allow to have such an exhibition. It's coming. So you will hear more about that. But Dr. Meeks, I have a question for you. And my question is, with all the talks about reparations and repatriation, what role do you think Anansi plays in reparatory justice?
I have a story to tell about, I lived outside of Jamaica for a little while, 15 years. I came back in 1997, and nobody, that's not true, few people took me seriously about storytelling, and fewer people took me seriously about Anansi and storytelling. And in 2008, when we were marking the centenary of the signing, the last ship, the abolition of the trade, I said, we can't have this without a storytelling booth. Well, anybody can go and check who was on the committee that set up that. Everybody thought I was joking. Amina, are you serious? You really want an Anansi storytelling booth at this very important occasion? Dr. Henry, I could not believe that there were people who did not see that this was important. I could not believe it. And then maybe 8 years ago, I wanted to do a storytelling course at the University of the West Indies. The course now runs, and it's an online course, but I wrote to the Center for Reparation Research. I say, you know, some would I like to run the storytelling course out of the center? And the response was, it's a better fit at the Institute of Cultural Studies.
Caribbean Studies.
Caribbean Studies, right? Me can tell you so much things that Nancy himself a ball out to repair who him is. Because we, NTUKUMA, have a relationship with Emancipation Park. And we used to go there every November. We still do, and they partner with us for the opening where Anansi goes to Emancipation Park. Well, they have a Christmas show every year. And one year them say, come and tell stories at the Christmas show. And we're glad and happy and ready to go to the Christmas show. And just before the Christmas show, we got an uninvite. And the uninvite said, Nancy not going to fit with the nativity theme. So better you come in Black History Month. Sorry. And the final anecdote is, there's a beautiful young lady who's a wonderful poet that I have worked with for almost 2 years. And I go to everything that she invites me to, and she loves my stories. And last year, I sent her an invitation with the list of activities we were having for Anansi Soundsplash. And I get a voice message. And the voice message began by saying, you know how much I respect your work. When you hear that duck, for some big rock stone a come. And she went on, and then she said, but Anansi stands in stark opposition to my Christian upbringing. It's still on my phone, I can play it for you. I died and went to a strange place. I know that. The things about us that we need to be ashamed of. And Nancy in too little, in too black, him have a list tongue, him come from Africa, and all of these things. So one of the things we have to do in order to introduce Nancy as reparatory justice, this morning at the launch, one of the schools told a beautiful story about why the area in which the school is Pondside. They had researched it and written the story. But no, and Nancy make drought in the place, man. And I had to say, look at any Nancy story and see how Nancy lives in the forest and how he loves the trees and him always down by the river. If you didn't know one of them story there, you could have never write, say, the fact say Merlin at his school only get running water last year after 34 years, a true Anansi did mash up the environment. So in order to understand Anansi and his contribution to reparatory justice, we first have to understand how the Europeans did a bad public relations job on everything that we brought here, including Anansi. And then we have to look at things like how Anansi take all the blows, where Eshu was. How is Anansi who end up as this international citizen who take all the cussing for everything? So there is work to be done in understanding Anansi. There is work to be done in understanding how to read the Anansi stories so we can see what I see in Tanzania before the story begins. The storyteller says see, and the audience says so that we can see. Because if the storyteller don't see, them can't see nothing. So we have to do all of that work so that all of us can see how we have been made to feel ashamed of who we are, to hide it, and to see how I see Anansi and Anansi stories in the Sustainable Development Goals and Vision 2030. Anybody from PIOJ who hear me say that now, I said, can lock me up because what is Anansi doing in Vision 2030? But respect for the elders. recycling things, everything you see inside here to make Jamaica the place to live, work,
And
raise families and do business. Ask Nancy how that go. At one of our conferences, I'm going to shut up now, the then executive director of NLJ, Mrs. Winsome Hudson, delivered a paper, and she said if somebody were to say to her, and this is in one of the books that we published, if somebody were to say to her, if you had a chance to maintain just one collection in NLJ, what would it be? She said, take everything else and leave the Anansi collection, because I understand weddings, I understand food security, I understand christening, I understand how we relate to the elders, all of those things, but you have to come from a place of healing who we are, to understand how this spirit has been dehumanized so we can repair this spirit and access the wisdom that we can get.
And Dr. Henry, that is why when I say history is not what happens, but what is written, because we continue to have other people tell us what is the text on our bodies. And where memories fail and where old men die, and that is not documented, we forget, like Gilgamesh, the Sumerians. Yes. But when we have a document, if it was etched in a wall, if it was practiced in a dance, if it was in a poem or something that was often recited or seen, we could not forget. And we wouldn't have an occasion to remember.
And I'll respond later on, right? In the interest of time. But let me tell you, Dr. Meeks, that question, Spirit gave me that question.
That question what?
Spirit gave me that question.
Okay.
Spirit has a way of, when it tells you to do something, it doesn't leave you alone until you do it. And for 3 days, I've been wrestling with the thought of putting together a panel that deals with folklore and reparatory justice. And of course, that's one of the questions I wanted to prepare for that panel. So thank you.
Let's do it.
I just want to say, you know, this is so refreshing, Dr. Meeks. This discussion is a discussion that we just don't have. And it is about time that we recognize the importance of storytelling and what it is, and I mean what it does for the Jamaican people. It is who we are. I didn't really realize until, you know, when I was grown and, you know, that what my life was, my experiences of early childhood and how it has shaped me and what I have learned. At the time, you just don't think about it, but it is so important, the whole thing of the spirit, right? And what it tells you. It's not, it's more than intuition, right? It's more than that. Right, and I think Jamaican people, I don't think we realize it, but somehow we have been blessed with this spirit that has made us great. We are just this little tiny dot on the map, and nobody can really explain it as to how we have achieved so much culturally, as to how so many persons, there's nowhere on earth you can ask about Jamaican people, and somebody say, well, they have never heard or they don't know of anybody. Bob Marley, Usain Bolt, or something about Jamaica. Why? Why? You know, we are here with this island. It is a most beautiful place. We have been blessed. We are in the center of the Caribbean, strategically placed. Why? Why? And I think we are just wasting it in many aspects. And it's time we wake up. Right? We may not have it financially, we may be getting there some point, but culturally we are a powerhouse. And I don't think that we realize, I mean, even, you know, in terms of the allocation that is given to cultural institutions, it's very meager, right? And bear in mind, you know, what we have achieved, you know, it's as if that there is a disconnect there somewhere. And I want us to just keep continuing to do this and to really push it. And as far as I am concerned, when it comes to the IOJ, I'll do everything in my power to ensure that we reach a particular level in terms of the culture and in terms of our exposure, right?
Thank
in terms
you.
of what, yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Queen Nelson.
Yeah.
Well, with that said, and in the interest of time, we need to move along the program to launch a collection because we also have a short introduction that we would like to show to our audience that is patiently waiting with us.
He used to say all the time, and I couldn't understand the child, harm no man and let no man harm you. And when I'm doing the PhD, I realize that this is the Bantu mantra.
Yes. Which Peter Tosh put in one of his songs, harm no man and let no man harm you.
All right, so thank you very much, my very...
This has been so uplifting
yes,
to my
panelists.
spirit.
I can see that you enjoyed yourself, Dr. Meeks. So we're going to ask our moderator to take over now while I invite you to have your seats in the audience so we can view the collection.
Oh, Maria, it was great.
I prefer it.
You need it.
Oh.
All right, everyone. Just so a little bit of housekeeping before I launch the collection. So, Mr. Jerry Richards from the JLS. Is anyone missing a cell phone? Okay, well, Belto, talk to me later. I'll tell you how you can get back your phone. Here we go. Mr. Richards picked it up accidentally because he thought it was his. He was very apologetic, I hear. All right, so at this time, this will be the official launch of the collection. And then Mr. Pasley is going to set up a viewing for us, just a preview. However, the full collection can't be viewed as yet in our library, so I encourage you all to make an appointment with Miss Watson to come back down and see the collection in full, do some... Oh, also, I forgot to plug, on your programs, while Mr. Pastor gets ready, on your programs, you will see a QR code. Please scan it. It is to our social media. Please like, comment, share, follow. Guys, please, the publications unit is working very hard at our social media, so please like, comment, follow, share. God will bless you. If nothing else. All right, so now we'll have... Oh, no, Mr. Passy isn't ready yet. Mr. Passy, I don't have any stand-up jokes on cue. Oh. Okay, never mind. They didn't give me any cue cards, guys.
I will invite Dr. Meeks beside me. This would not have been possible without you, madam. So, ladies and gentlemen, as the director of the African Caribbean Institute of Jamaica, it is my absolute pleasure with Dr. Amina Blackwood Meeks to declare the collection open and accessible to the nation.
Thank you very much. My heart is filled with joy.
Yes. This is a screen.
Anansi is the wonder of creation. Brother Nancy is the king of our imagination, bringing stories with the light of the ancient Africa. Brother Nancy is the king of our imagination. Anansi is the wonder of creation. Anansi is the wonder of creation.
Thank you. Anansi is the king. All right. So we have heard the song, and we're now going to have stories from some of the young people. The Miss Blake, I think it is, from Papine High. Yes, come. First name? Elaine. Yes. Elaine Blake from Papine High doing Anansi and the Yam.
How do you do today? Oh, me? I'm well, fabulous now. You know, sure, you fine? No. Anyways, I have a story for tell you know. Are you ready to hear it? Yeah. All right, let me get right down into it. Quick crack. Quick crack. All right, anyways. One time, Anansi started work around near the roadside. No, we know. Anansi dig 9 yam. 9 yam, you know. But guess what? Nobody is allowed to count up to the 9. If him count to 9, him drop down dead. Anyways, Anansi say, I got to eat something out of this, you know. And Anansi sit down there, you know, and Anansi start ball. Hug the pass and say to Anansi, Anansi, how are you? Anansi him, my dear brother Hug, from morning I dig these few yam is, but I can't count them. Hug say, sure. I say you what list? So make me count for you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And has Hag said 9, Hag drop down? And as he just take him up and put him in a bag and carry him home and just nyam him. Anyways, you see the next day, him nyam up goat who share the same fate as Hag. No, we know. See, because Anansi is a very greedious man, him not stop. Anyways, see, up in one tree, monkey up there, you know, and monkey are watching me, you know. And monkey I see everything him man do. You see that same field, in dig back the same 9 yam hills, and sit down there, and a ball. Why? Monkey him pass and say, Anansi, how are you? Anansi say, boy, my dear brother monkey, from morning I dig these few yam is, and I can't count them. Monkey say, I will help you, but guess what? You have to sit down upon one. Monkey him sit down upon one, and Anansi him sit down upon one, and monkey say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And the one Anansi sit down upon one. Anansi say, That's not the way I count them, monkey. All right. I will count them better for you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And the one Anansi sit down up on the one day, you know. See, because Anansi is a man with a very short heart. Anansi want get up vex. Cha! That's not the way I count them. Make me count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And as more as Anansi said 9, Anansi drop down. Monkey him just take up Anansi and say, you can fool them, but you can't fool me. Jack Mandora, me not choose none.
Anansi can't outwit monkey. I digress. So now, as we're about to come to an end, once again, plugging, please scan the QR code. Thank you. They'll fire me from the little work, and I won't see me up here again. We now invite Ms. Nasika Aleman, our publications officer, to offer acknowledgements.
Testing, testing. How are we doing, ladies and gentlemen? We're doing all right? Don't stare at me. Okay. Am I that short? No. Make it a katala. We should adjust. There we go. That's good. All right, all right. Are you guys hearing me? Loud and clear, loud and clear? All right. Good afternoon, everyone. As we bring today's proceedings to a close, I would like to take this opportunity to express our deepest gratitude to all who have contributed to the success of this event. Was it a success? Yeah. Oh. Now, first and foremost, we extend our sincerest thanks to Dr. Amina Blackwood Meeks, founder and artistic director of the NTUKUMA Storytelling Foundation. Dr. Meeks, we're truly honored that you have entrusted the NTUKUMA collection to us here at the African Caribbean Institute of Jamaica, Jamaica Memory Bank. There we go. Your dedication to preserving and promoting the art of storytelling is nothing short of inspiring. We are grateful for the opportunity to partner with you on this meaningful project. Now, to the other members of our panel, Dr. Maria Smith from the Jamaica National Commission for UNESCO, and our very own Ms. Marsha Hall, Research Officer here at the ACIJJMB. Thank you all for your invaluable contributions to today's discussions. Hello. Now, a special thank you goes out to Mrs. Michelle Creed-Nelson, the Executive Director of the Institute of Jamaica, for her insightful remarks and for reaffirming the IOJ's commitment to the preservation and promotion of Jamaica's cultural heritage. We're almost there, guys. I now extend gratitude to our esteemed moderator, our very own Miss Chelsea Stevenson. There we go, there we go, there we go. And our reasoning, which was led by Mrs. Georgette McGlashan Miller, also our very own, for both skillfully guiding today's conversations. To the rest of the amazing team here at the ACIJJMB, which I am proud to be a part of, under the leadership of Dr. Kurt Henry, there we go, your dedication to archiving and preserving Jamaica's intangible cultural heritage is commendable. Today's launch truly is a testament to, dare I say, our unwavering commitment to ensuring that our stories remain accessible for generations to come. And finally, to our wonderful audience, both here in person and those joining us online, thank you for being a part of this milestone. Your engagement and support are crucial in keeping our cultural traditions alive. Now, as we move forward, let us continue to embrace the power of storytelling as a tool for education, connection, and cultural preservation. Please enjoy the reception and take the time to reflect on the rich legacy we are safeguarding today. Happy World Storytelling Day, everyone. Good afternoon.
Okay, everyone, even though Ms. Aliman has given all the acknowledgements, I too must join in with the thanks. Thanks to Dr. Blackwood Meeks for choosing the ACIJ. She's been with us for years, and I hope she's here for years to come. Thank you so much to the hardworking team of the ACIJ, JMB. Thank you to the audience, everyone who, both online and in person, who took the time out to attend another production of the ACIJ, JMB. Now, enough chitter chatter. Please enjoy the reception that follows. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a good rest of the day. Wait, hold on. They're in the way. Oh, wait, Mr. Basley. Cut the cameras. Thank you. Anyway.